Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We hope that you take the time to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Sara Sherman. She is the driving force behind Single Moms Ask Sara. And we're here today to have a very important conversation about the way we talk with our kids about college. Before we invite Sara in, we want to let you know about our fantastic sponsors. This episode of the podcast is brought to you in part by Joanne Gramlich and her wonderful book, Talk, Play, and Read with Me, Mommy. Joanne was on the show not too long ago. We discovered that she is a speech and language pathologist. And one of the things that she wants to ask you is, did you know that you can begin to talk and interact with your child as early as birth? Well, if you did, then you're on the right track to getting your child ready for the infant, toddler, and preschool years. If you didn't, then Talk, Play, and Read with Me, Mommy will provide you and your child with many stimulating activities and games that are developmentally appropriate and designed to enhance your child's speech and language skills. There are interactive activities for infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. Now, these games can be played when you and your child have a few extra minutes during your daily routine, maybe during playtime or even during story time. You can also use this great book when you're on the go, so make sure you carry it with you everywhere you go. But before you carry it, you have to buy it. And you can buy Talk, Play, and Read with Me, Mommy by Joanne Gramlich at Amazon. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Vooks.com. That's V-O-O-K-S, Vooks.com. I love Vooks. This is a fantastic service. Let me tell you all about it. Vooks combines the love, trust, and safety of children's books with convenience of online streaming for a whole new way to experience stories with a growing library of animated storybooks that both kids and parents will love. Now, by adding movement, sound, and narration to existing books, Vooks has brought stories to life in such an amazing way. These stories, these brought to life stories encourage the love of reading while promoting literacy, imagination, and focus for children ages 2 to 8 years old. With Vooks, children can learn, laugh, and let their imagination soar, while parents can feel good about letting their little ones enjoy quality, guilt-free screen time. Right now, Vooks is offering a free 1-year subscription to every single teacher and homeschooling parent. Vooks also has great free resources to go along with some of their most beloved titles. You can check it out. To learn more, go to Vooks.com. That's VOOKS.com, Vooks.com. Joining us on the line right now from Columbus in Ohio. She is the driving force behind Single Moms Ask Sara. Please welcome to the show, Sara Sherman. Sara, how are you?
I'm great, Jed. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
I'm really excited to have you on, too, because we're talking... here in the Reading with Your Kids podcast is all about inspiring families to spend time together reading with our kids. And we understand that reading with our kids, there's so many benefits to it. Kids learn a love of reading and learning. They learn vocabulary. They learn empathy. But most of all, and the reason I started the show is because it builds that bond between parent and child that is so important. And it's the start of a lifelong conversation. And we don't understand it much as parents, but we actually are involved in lifelong conversations. And one of those conversations that we're involved with our kids, and it's probably something that we're not aware of, we're talking to our kids about college from the moment they're come into the world. And
yes, we are. That is true.
We put so much stress on our kids. We put so much stress on ourselves. And Sara is someone I think agrees with me. A lot of that stress it's not healthy, and it probably isn't necessary. What do you think?
I agree with you 100%. Absolutely 100%. I think that the value of an education is enormous and life-changing and changes generations that follow you. But the way that we go about it sometimes is really detrimental and really kind of thwarts the process.
Mm-hmm. Somebody opened my eyes. I've talked a lot about my daughter being in the music business, and one of the ways, and she's known since she was in middle school that she wanted to get into the music business, and initially she wanted to get into the Christian music business. And being in New England, it's unusual. A lot of these Christian music is really huge in different parts of the country, and a lot of the bands that play sold-out stadiums down south will come up to the Northeast, and they'll play like a little church. and they'll depend on, volunteer help to kind of help set things up. And I had a conversation one night with the dad who was managing this band, the band is actually now, they've blown up there. They're one of the biggest recording artists in Christian music. And, I was talking to him, and his kids are very successful, and they're in a number of different bands and different businesses, and they're all entrepreneurs. And I said, what advice, he met my daughter, he loved her. I said, what advice can you give me to help her be successful? And he blew me out of the water because he said, don't let your kid go to college. And I thought, that's crazy. But we had a conversation, and he talked about the fact that what I thought of college, what a lot of parents think of when they think of college, isn't what a lot of kids are experiencing. They're not getting that in school. They're getting something else, but they're not getting that whole go in, learn, and develop a love of learning, develop a love of thinking, and all of that. I don't know if I made sense right then.
I think you made a lot of sense, and I think that it's a good point to be made. So to back up a little bit, I always say, my tagline is priorities and plans for a kick-ass life. So what that means is, set your priorities. What is important to you? What do you want to achieve? And then make the appropriate plans to do that. And then you'll get the life that is what you really want. And we don't tend to do that. We kind of jump in. We let life maybe unfolding is something that sounds wonderful, and not that to stop that, but to unfold with intention. So we kind of get caught up in I call it keeping up with the Joneses kids, where we talk about, my child went here, and it becomes like this ego or pride thing. Oh, well, my child's doing this, or my child's doing that. And that sometimes drives us more than what we really, if we were to be asked what was driving us, we would never say those things. So knowing what you want, and if the case is a love of learning and all the things that the person you're having the conversation with identified, then you would look for the educational experience, whatever that might be for your child, that makes sense for where they want to go, that supports that. And you would be looking less for something that might be considered a best school or a best scenario, or something that gives you a sense of great pride when you're talking to other parents. We kind of move our focus, and I think that that's what he was saying here. So I don't know that a college education is a bad thing, but certainly you're going to want to look for some very specific experiences, traits, what's being offered, and what those outcomes look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Now both of my kids, my daughter did go and attend college and was very successful. My son gave it a shot, and because he wasn't sure of whether or not he was going to like it, he gave it a shot at community college. And when he decided that it wasn't for him, he was able to leave feeling pretty good because he didn't owe any money. A lot of the kids that went to high school with him did the same thing. They went off to college. They gave it a shot. At the end of the first year, they said, "No, this isn't for me." But they still had $50,000 in loans. So, and that just puts them right behind the eight ball. And what things should we look for? What things should we be talking to our kids about regarding college, instead of just talking to our first graders and saying, hey, you got to do well in first grade because, that's going to help you get into a great college.
Exactly. I think it's the perfect question to ask. So I believe first and foremost, know your child. We tend to think, okay, as you've graduated from high school, now your next step is to get enrolled in a best school in the fall. And that might not be where your child is. They may need more time. And to your point, my two girls went straight into college. It worked really well for them. My son spent some time at the community college, decided he couldn't really figure out what he wanted to do. And when he finally did, it was a vocational school that he went to, and he's a welder. And he's really happy. So understand where your kids are and respect where they are versus where you'd really like them to be. And community colleges are really evolving, and there's so much greater understanding of you can get the same education your first 2 years at such a lower price and then roll directly into a 4-year college if that's something that you want to do. And your debt is so much less.
Yeah. I don't know what it's like all around the country, and I'm not sure if if it's still the same here in Massachusetts. But when my son was looking at the community college choice, yes, you had that go for 2 years, a much lower cost. If you are successful, you can transfer right into a state university. And the great thing was when you transferred to that state university, you continued to pay the community college tuition at the state university. So there are a lot of deals like that out there that people aren't aware of.
Yeah, in Texas, I believe that the community college education is free.
That's the best deal around.
It is the best deal. I think Tennessee has something similar. Another state, I'm thinking that it's Tennessee. So yeah, and here we have a very strong community college in Columbus, and they partner with several 4-year colleges. So one of them, a private, Capital University, allows students, if they want to live on Capital's campus and go to the community college, they can. If they want to participate in Capital's social life or additional extracurricular activities while they're a student at the community college, they can. So there's a lot of creativity out there, understanding that everyone wants maximum success. Our Governor Ago began to tie funding for state colleges to graduation rates. And really the emphasis prior to that time had always been focused on getting kids enrolled and not getting them to graduation. And it was about the time that my kids hit college, and the help and support that students were getting, I was grateful for and just amazed. The faculty were checking on them. There was so much support because the desire was to get them to graduation in order to maintain their funding. So putting the accent on the appropriate syllable there has been making some big changes.
That's wonderful. I think one of the things that people don't understand is that here, at least here in the States, we see these images of colleges, and what the college experience is here in the States isn't what the college experience is like around the rest of the world.
That is true.
When my daughter was checking out colleges, we went on a tour, and we had an international student with us from Italy who was in medical school in Italy. And we visited 3 or 4 different universities. And finally, at the 4th university, the student turned to me and she said, "What is it with the rock wall and the cafe and the other cafe and the lunchroom and the athletic center? We've gone to 4 universities. We haven't seen a classroom. We haven't seen a lecture hall. We haven't seen a science lab. We haven't met a teacher. It's all these fun things. This isn't college." And it was a real wake-up call for us.
That's huge. We talk about the college experience, and I know, the kids think that they're going to go to college and have the college experience, and asked to define that. It's not about classroom sizes because they don't even have that frame of reference. It's about partying. It's about what the dorms look like. It's about the fun stuff that you can do. And I appreciate the need to be customer service oriented and to attract students. I mean, there's fewer kids are graduating because there's fewer kids are being born, so fewer are graduating, and there's a lot of competition out there for students. But I agree 100%. Again, we are not focusing in the right places. And for our kids to be successful and for whoever is paying the bill to get the most bang for their buck, we need to shift this a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it'll be customer driven. That is what will drive that shift.
Yeah. Well, until we get the customers all to help out and make that shift, what specific questions and conversations can we have with our kids that'll kind of help them to get them to stop thinking about, because even in the families where, even in my family, when my daughter made her choice, and I'll tell you a little bit about that choice in a moment, but once my daughter made that choice, she still felt pressure, when her teachers heard what her choice was. They were like, "Oh, you're making such a dumb mistake. Oh my goodness, you're going to miss this. You're going to miss going out and being in the dorms and all this other kind of stuff." So the pressure on going to these elite colleges doesn't only come from parents who are stressed out. It comes from teachers and media and all of that kind of stuff. But I think we can still focus our kids and help them make great decisions on the conversations that we have with them. What kind of things do we need to talk about our kids when they're in elementary school, middle school, high school that can help them really make great decisions and stress-free decisions about colleges?
Sure. I think, know your child. What are they ready for? What are their interests? Are they ready to be sent all the way across the country to be on their own just because they turned 18 or not? Don't put them in a situation where they're not going to succeed. So as you start out, help your kids explore interests without a lot of pressure. That might mean that you aren't doing the traveling sports teams because those have a lot more pressure and they take a lot of time away from your family. Mm-hmm. That might mean you're not doing some of the things that you will hear people talk about. So it comes from pride. Like as a parent, I think we have to check ourselves. Am I doing something that sounds good when it comes out of my mouth and looks good to my friends or teachers or whoever's sending these messages? Or am I truly supporting my child in their interests? That I understand how they need to learn, that I understand how they interact in social situations, that I understand what makes them happy, that I understand their level of self-direction, do they want to leave? And how much pressure do they feel because they're getting it from teachers and media and everyone else? I mean, when we look at the college scandal with the buying of admissions, I think it's a perfect example. If we instead focus to support our kids in the things that they show some interest in, then when it comes time to make those decisions, it will be a much more natural situation. It'll be a clear next step because they've been developing and evolving all along.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'll share with you we had that conversation with my daughter, and in fact that the Italian student was with us. I've mentioned here in the show that the choice that my daughter made was to go she wanted a degree in music business. So there was one school here in Boston that has a phenomenal international reputation as a college for music. And I said to her, I said, if you had a magic wand and you could just create the perfect educational situation for yourself, what would it be? And she said, well, I want this degree. I want it from a college that has a great reputation and is really training people. But I also want to work, and I want to get into the business. I want to tour. I want to work with artists now. And so we looked at the different opportunities and different options she had, and the only option that allowed her to do that was to attend this university's online degree program. Mm-hmm. And she did that, and it was 25%. The cost was 75% less than attending physically.
Wow.
So it was a great deal. She got to work in the industry for 4 years. So when she graduated without debt, the same exact degree if she had attended physically, and she had 4 years experience.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the options, too, we have to talk to our kids about, is that whole online option for kids. It can be a phenomenal option for a lot of kids.
It's huge, and it's really growing. I was getting when I was getting my master's degree, it was just beginning to be unfolded, and now it's really taken over. I mean, there are colleges that's predominantly all that they offer is their programming online. You might go to campus or another location for a week or two, but it's all predominantly online. Lots of PhD programs are completely online. I mean, when I started college, we still approached college with this little bit of trepidation, like, I hope that they accept me, and I hope that I, don't ruffle any feathers, and I, can mesh and fit in. And the landscape is really changing. It's really becoming a buyer's market. And you can go in and say, this is what I want and this is what I expect. And you will find a university that has it or gets very close. And with the advent of an online program, it doesn't matter where your college is. Mm-hmm. It opens so many more doors. So the options for students are really phenomenal. And what I tell my nieces and nephews is, figure out what you want. Give yourself room to change your mind later as you learn and grow new information. But instead of, kind of shirking and thinking, I hope someone picks me, you decide who you will pick.
That is so important. And I think it's so empowering, too.
Absolutely.
Just shifting the kids' minds for, am I going to be good enough for the college? And instead help the kids see that the question should be, what college is best for me?
Absolutely.
Wow. Hey, we've had a great conversation here. I know that moms going on to Single Moms Ask Sara, they're going to find out a lot of great information. Tell us about your website and what folks can find there.
So on the website, you'll find tips and support, particularly for single moms, because I feel like that as a single mom, it's a group that folks don't speak directly to very often in a positive light. But parenting is parenting, so whether you're single or not, you'll find the information to be beneficial. And if you, as an adult, want to get a degree, I wrote the book, The Single Mom's Guide to Getting a Degree, which explains soup to nuts how to pick your college, pick your major, do your financing, and rearrange your life so that you can fit that next degree in, because increasing your family's bottom line provides such a better quality of life for you and your children.
And where can they find that?
That is on the website, singlemomsaskSara.com, and on Amazon.com. In fact, it's an Amazon bestseller.
Excellent. And can folks, when they go on to Single Moms Ask Sara, are there ways for them to get in touch with you and learn? Do you have classes there, anything like that for parents?
Absolutely. I have programs. I have a private Facebook group where we do a lot of work called the Single Mom Pride. My email is listed on that website, and there's a contact form.
Well, we've had a really, I think, an eye-opening conversation today with Sara Sherman. She is the driving force behind Single Moms Ask Sara. And the one thing that I'm definitely taking away from this is helping our kids shift their focus, shift their thought process to stop worrying about, am I good enough for these colleges, and instead start thinking about what college is going to be best for me. Sara, I've had such a great time speaking with you. Thanks so much for being on the show.
I've enjoyed it immensely. Thanks so much, Jen. Have a great day.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Bill Doyle. He's created an amazing book that you're going to love. It's called Escape This Book, Tombs of Egypt. That's the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. If you are the author of a fantastic book, we would love to have you as a guest on the show. Being a guest is fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of people about your fantastic children's book. All you need to do is to go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on the contact button that you will find at the bottom of the page. Let us know about your great book. We will let you know the next easy steps. We want to thank the folks who made today's show so very wonderful. We want to thank our guest, Sara Sherman. Be sure to check out her blog. I want to thank my amazing producer, Fatima Khan. Be sure to check out her blog. I want to thank my fantastic sponsors, Books.com. Be sure to check out their online streaming service of children's books. We also want to thank Joanne Gramlich. Talk, Play, and Read With Me Mommy is a phenomenal resource for all parents. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.